Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be a very interesting comparative analysis, and as you are aware that COMAC made its surprise visit by introducing its made in China build C919 at Singapore Airshow, marking her as first ever international debut. And most surprisingly, COMAC also receiving 50 airplane orders of its C919 from Tibet Airlines, and also showing a strong message to its biggest aviation manufacturers like Airbus and Boeing, believing that COMAC can still compete its brand valued C919, and also showcasing their first ever launch customer, which is China Eastern Airlines' first C919 at Singapore Airshow. Now, the question is rising from Airbus and Boeing, what would be their competitive goals, specifically in long-term perspective in terms of a mid-size aviation market? This video is going to be a very interesting comparative analysis between China's COMAC C919 versus Airbus's brand new and most favorite mid-size airplane from every airline they want to prefer is none other than A320Neo. So, without further ado, let's get dive into its most competitive mid-size market duel between COMAC's C919 and Airbus A320Neo. Let's get started. Alright guys, so right in front of your screen is the first ever Chinese built COMAC C919. Alright, so let's get deep dive into how it started when it comes to its design phase and development phase. So when it comes to design phase, it started back in 2011 to 2012 under the leadership of Wu Guanzhui, who is the Chinese engineer specialized on designing the Chinese aircraft. And right now, he is the Deputy General Manager for COMAC, also known as Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China. So on 2015, COMAC introduced its first prototype of C919, as you can see on your screen, registered as Bravo-001 Alpha. In addition to that, COMAC also introduced 5 other prototypes specifically for performing various flight test parameters, which includes turbulence landing, anti-stall testing, and also landing in freezing conditions, tail strike testing, and also rejected takeoff concepts. So, in addition to this, COMAC collaborated with Bombardier for supporting with supply chain logistics, which includes spare parts for wings, spare parts for aircraft exit doors, and also providing assistance for cockpit training for Chinese pilots, and most importantly, supporting for sales and marketing aspects. Now, my first impressions of this first C919 when it comes to this view, well, definitely it reminds me of Airbus A220, also previously known to be as Bombardier C series. So the boundary lines of this cockpit window looks a bit curvy, and also it's very wide. But if you compare it with the Airbus A320neo's windows, which looks a bit flatter, specifically at the base of this windows. So it's very wide, and most importantly, specifically for visual reference, it will also be helpful for pilots to land in any difficult conditions, specifically with low visibility conditions, and also when you face any turbulence landing. So visually, it will be easy for pilots to land the plane safely thanks to this large cockpit windows. So personally, I really love this design for this mid-sized jet. In addition to this, when it comes to this engine, right, so this is powered by CFM LEAP 1C, also known to be as C denoted as COMAC, right? So when it comes to its power ratings, its thrust range is between 27,000 to 28,000 pounds. So if you compare it with the Airbus A320neo, which is CFM LEAP 1A, so the thrust range was between 28,000 to 35,000 pounds. So Usually, it's very clear to say that Airbus A320Neo takes the lead when it comes to its power ratings compared to the Chinese CFM LEAP 1C. In addition to this, COMAC also decided to introduce its Chinese homegrown engine called as CJ1000A. So this particular engine was initially used for a Chinese Y-20 military transport plane. So they decided to use that engine for commercial purpose. So if you speak about the thrust range, so it is almost equivalent to CFM LEAP 1C, ranging between 27,000 to 28,000 pounds. Right, so that is about the engine specification. Now coming to the wingtips of this C919, well, I'm a huge fan of this curved wingtips. This reminds me of Airbus A330Neo series, which also has an inclined curve. But if you compare it with the Airbus A320Neos, so it has a sharklet concept, which you do have a little bit curve, but the rest is inclined with the 90-degree angle. So, but personally to say, what COMAC's main aim specifically for developing this mid-sized jet is, number one, improving its fuel efficiency, and also number two, making the plane more aerodynamically. So that is where COMAC used this curve winglets, which is, personally for me, I really like this curve winglet design specifically for this mid-size jet. Now, coming to the auxiliary power unit, well, this definitely reminds me once again with the Boeing 737 MAX and 787 Dreamliner. So, COMAC also partnered with Honeywell Systems for development of this APU engine. So, their main aim is to improve its fuel efficiency. So overall, the lengthwise of this COMAC C919, it is near to 38.9 meters in length compared to Airbus A320neo, which is 37.56 meters. It's a bit wider compared to its A320neo. So nevertheless, now it's time to deep dive into what's inside the avionics of COMAC C919. All right, guys, so we are right inside the cockpit view of COMAC C919, and you will definitely recognize the similarities again, which reminds me of Boeing 737 MAX, 787 Dreamliner, and Boeing 777X. But one thing that I'm surprised is the size of these avionics display. It looks very large, and visually it looks very amazing with its cockpit design as well. So let's get deep dive into what's so special in this avionics of C919. So right on the left is the first display screen. On left side corner, you can see the flight number, registration number of this flight, and also it shows what's the scheduled departure time, what's today's date, what's the arrival time of the particular destination. So the left side shows the flight details, and here you can see the gyroscope on the left. Here it shows the speedometer, how much speed you're gaining or losing, and also the altitude meter, which shows how much altitude you are gaining or losing respectively. And below here is a small navigation display specifically for easy visual reference with respect to the waypoints, what you specified, right? And on the another display unit is, well, you can see another navigation display. So this is a little short view of the navigation display here. So with the respect to the waypoints, so it looks clear and very well easy to pinpoint its coordinates in this navigation display view. And then on the right side of this is the landing gear status. You have the flap configurations right here, and then we have the engine status, also how much thrust the engine is pulling up or down respectively. And at the center you have the landing gear retract lever, then you have auto brake settings, and that's the captain's view of the flight display, which is in a split screen configuration. And then comes to the first officer's display unit, which is a full screen size. And well, I really love a lot is this full screen navigation display. So imagine when you are traveling for a long haul flight and with respective waypoints, even if it is either 10 to 11 waypoints. So you can zoom out and put it in a full size view to visually see how many waypoints are present specifically when you're traveling for long haul flights. So I think this looks very impressive with its full screen navigation display. And also, well, this is almost similar to the captain's view of the split screen configuration. Once again, right side, you can see the flight number, registration number, then again with its scheduled departure time, and what's the today's date. So overall, this display unit looks very impressive, and also it's very easy to operate as well. And then coming to the upper panel of the C919, well, I can recognize familiar controls, which is similar to Airbus A320Neo. One is the auto throttle unit, then flight director switch, and this is the speed setting. When you are using autopilot, you can designate at which speed you want to operate. Then you have heading settings as well. You have LNAV settings, where once you switch to the GPS with respect to the waypoints, you can use LNAV to allow its aircraft to fly to its designated waypoints. And then you have the autopilot switch right here. Then you have altitude hold switch with the designated altitude at what level the plane wants to fly. And then you have the vertical speed, which designates at which speed per minute you want to ascend or descend the plane. Like if you want to set at an altitude of 35,000 feet, so the plane at present flies at around 15,000 feet. So you can designate to that particular altitude with the vertical speed, say 2,000 feet per minute, to reach at particular 35,000 feet respectively. So this is where you can initiate the vertical switch, right? So the joystick controls is here. So it's very similar to Airbus A320Neo. And then if you can go to the center console, well, this looks to be a flight checklist manual with a display unit where you can specify various flight checklist parameters, from before taxi checklist, after taxi checklist, then before takeoff checklist, after takeoff checklist. So there are multiple parameters where you can specify within this display unit. And also you have the setting for the frequency change, which is a bit similar to Airbus A320Neo. And you have the throttle levers, and you have the switches for left and right engines to either on or off respectively. And the interesting thing is the in-flight keyboard. Well, this reminds me of Airbus A380, where you can customize various parameters whenever an aircraft suffers any failures or any technical malfunction. So you can use this keyboard to manually check within this display unit to see which of the checklists can be used to fix the errors. So I think this keyboard is very useful specifically for the in-flight emergency situations as well. So yeah, I think this is one of them. And then on the top, I can recognize the most is these are the landing lights. Mostly this is the landing lights. This might be the seat belt on or off status, no smoking on or off status. And this panel almost similar to the Airbus A320Neo, where you have landing lights, switches, beacon lights, rotating beacons, strobe lights, taxi lights. So this can be visually seen here. So most probably this is also similar to COMAC's, COMAC's Avionics design. But overall, if you can zoom out here, well, this looks very airy. Its windows looks very big. Specifically, visually perspective, I am very happy with this design. in various conditions where pilots may face in landing in difficult weather conditions, or if it is a turbulence landing, so he can visually check and see how he or she can land the plane safely. So the window size looks very big, as I have mentioned previously, compared to the Airbus A320Neo. So once again, this is a big step forward for COMAC, bringing this C919, and also that too in an international debut at Singapore Airshow. Well, this definitely shows how strong is the package that COMAC is offering to the airlines. So, well, definitely, I think this is going to be a tough fight as we go a deep dive what Airbus A320 has. So let's get dive into it. All right, guys, so right in front of your screen is the Airbus A320Neo. So let's get deep dive into how it started with its development of Airbus A320Neo. So it started back in 2014, where Airbus decided to modify its existing A320 family, which includes A319, A320, and A321ceos, which were powered by CFM56 engines. By the way, CFM56 engines are very less reliable, less fuel efficient, and indeed it's very noisy as well. So based on the passengers' feedback and also from the airline's perspective, Airbus decided to introduce the new engine option, also known as Neo, to modify the A320 family. So now they designate it to be as Airbus A320 Neo. So structurally, there is no change, and even if you can see in the front view, so specifically the cockpit windows, like I said previously, comparing with the C919, these windows are quite small, but I thought Airbus should have increased the window size to be a bit larger. So anyhow, this looks very visually clear, and also it's very easily for pilots to land in specific conditions based on the size of these cockpit windows. But still, personally, I felt it looks very small in this case. And coming to the engines, which is a part of the NEO program, is the CFM LEAP 1A, which has the power rating range between 28,000 to 35,000 pounds. So by far, this is the most powerful engine for the mid-size jet. And also, Airbus also introduced another engine option called as Pratt & Whitney's PW1100G, also known as GTX engines. But there have been several limitations with the Pratt & Whitney engines, where there have been reports of some technical defects on the fan blades, leading to the safety concerns and grounding of all Airbus A320neos operating with the Pratt & Whitney engines. So recently, Airbus A320neo suffered a groundings with Indigo Airlines, who is the pure A320 family operator, where 40 of their planes were grounded. So alternatively, Indigo decided to lease 10 Boeing 737 MAX from Qatar Airways and also from Ryanair to compensate the gap. So they also requested Pratt & Whitney and Airbus to fix the engine, and also maybe mostly planning to replace it with the CFM LEAP 1A. So by far, personally to say, CFM LEAP 1A has been well recognized in terms of quality and safety. So I stand with the quality and safety of this CFM LEAP 1A engines. So just a quick note that CFM is an American and French conglomerative company who have developed this engine. Coming to the wingtips of the Airbus A320neo. So Airbus used to call this as the sharklets. So, well, it looks very sharper when you look into the wide angle view, but most importantly, it looks very aerodynamically impressive, specifically to improve its fuel efficiency. But the design wise, I would say you have a little curve here and then it is elongated with 90 degrees. Well, as I said, they wanted to make this aircraft more aerodynamically, improving its fuel efficiency. So, but it looks very impressive when it comes to this angle view with its sharklets. So compared to its old winglets, what you see in the A320ceos, this one looks to be like a facelifted version of the A320Neo. So with the sharklets added to it for a little cosmetic appearance. Right. Now coming to the auxiliary power unit, well, this looks very familiar APU with Airbus A320ceos, and the only thing they change is the APU engine. So, but design wise, they didn't change the APU specifically with the exhaust here. So the new engine was added for this APU. So yeah, once again, the main aim is to improve its fuel efficiency. So if you look at the lengthwise of this A320neo, it's near to 37.56, which is a bit short compared to COMAC C919, which is 38.7 meters, as I previously mentioned. Right. Now, let's get into deep dive into the avionics of Airbus A320neo. Right. So let's get diving. All right, guys, so we are right inside the cockpit view of Airbus A320neo, and immediately you may notice that the avionics is very old and also a bit outdated. But anyhow, the only change that Airbus tried to modify the A320neo is the fly-by-wire system. So that is usually the technical upgrades of this aircraft. So let's get into the avionics view of the Airbus A320neo. So definitely you can see on the left is the gyrometer with the speedometer on the left and altitude meter on the right. And then on the second screen, you have navigation display with the designated waypoints. You can usually see it there. And also you can customize it with the weather conditions. Also, you can check the meteorological data with thermal imaging patterns in the navigation system. Then on the center, you can see this is the manual gyrometer, and here you can see the engine status, and also you can see the error message status as well. Right below the screen, also you can see the status of whether the aircraft's exit doors are open or closed, and including the cargo doors also can be indicated the same. And then here also you can see the landing gear indicators, and you have the landing gear lever here. So the right side from the first officer's view is almost similar to the captain's view, specifically in terms of both gyrometer and navigation display unit. Right. Now on to the upper panel of the A320neo, the most recognizable things I like the most is the on the left is the flight director switch, and you have the ILS switch when you approach through the airport. So you need to use this ILS switch to maintain the designated waypoints to land at the designated runway when you reach the airport, right? Then you have the speed hold setting here with IAS mark conversions, and you have the heading setting here. And these three buttons here, one you have the auto throttle button, and here you have the autopilot button. And then on the right side, you have the altitude hold switch. Here you can designate at what altitude you want to climb. And then you have the vertical speed switch, where you can designate at which particular feet per second you want to climb the plane with the targeted altitude. So this is what I really recognize the most. And the left side corner here on this panel is the nav slash GPS switch. So if you switch to the GPS during the autopilot, so the plane will automatically coordinate its waypoints, what you have inserted in the navigation display, and also with the designated speed will be calculated. So this is what I describe to be called it as a fly-by-wire system. So you don't have to control the plane more longer. So usually, this is a very useful tool when you enable GPS so that the plane can fly smooth and safely towards its destination. So that is one of the impressive features with the Airbus A320Neo. And most importantly, the joystick right, you can see it is almost similar to C919. And now if you can see the bottom screen, the bottom panel of the A320Neo. So you have the throttle levers, you have the engine switches 1 and 2 respectively, right? This is the engine switch 1 for the left engine switch 2 for the right engine. You have the speed brake lever, then you have the flaps, you have the cockpit door switch as well. So this is a mandate for every Airbus and including Boeing. Also, they use this cockpit doors specifically for the safety of pilots, and also as per the aviation rules that passengers are not allowed to get inside a cockpit during boarding the flight or during the flight experience, right? And right below here is the parking brake lever and a very sweet Airbus A320 tag right there. So it's very aesthetically it's beautiful indeed as well. Now coming to the bottom center panel here, you can see this is the flight display checklist manuals where you can also insert some of the waypoints. You can insert the designated airport where you want to fly. So these are all like half manually typed procedure compared to the C919's flight checklist manuals. But this one, it looks like I said, it's a bit old, but they should have upgraded the avionics of the A320Neo. On the upper panel here, well, I can recognize the most is the landing gear, is the landing lights, strobe lights, rotating beacon lights, seatbelt sign, no smoke sign, and yeah, I think this is what I recognize the most. But here also, this is a bit similar to COMAC C919's upper panel. So overall, well, just like I said, this panel, I mean, this avionics looks very old. You know, the moment after I switch from COMAC C919 to A320, you will definitely feel so much difference within. And yeah, I think this looks very, very outdated, but hopefully Airbus should have modified with by merging these two screens with the one single screen. So it should have been very user friendly for a pilot's perspective. All right, so now let's dive into what is its specific range and what is the passenger's capacity between COMAC C919 and Airbus A320Neo. So let's dive into that part. All right, guys, so here is the overall configuration of COMAC C919 and Airbus A320Neo. So as I have shown you the exterior and the interior view of the COMAC C919 and Airbus A320Neo, immediately you will recognize the most is the passenger capacity. So here for C919, since the length is at 38.9 meters, which is by far the larger side compared to Airbus A320Neo, which is near to 37.5 meters. So you have the maximum seat capacity with 158 and 192 seats for C919, which is a positive side compared to the A320neo's seat capacity of 150 to 180 passengers. So in short to say that the more you have the length of the plane, the more you get capacity of the seats. So that is where COMAC takes the lead. The next is the fuel capacity, right? So it's not only about a fuel capacity, but also with the range perspective. Now, let me tell you, since the Airbus A320neo equipped with the CFM LEAP 1A with the maximum thrust of 28,000 to 35,000 pounds, the biggest advantage is the more you have the power, the more you have the range, and also the more you maintain the fuel capacity as well. So That's where Airbus A320Neo takes the advantage with the range of 6,300 kilometers and with the fuel capacity of 26,730 liters. Now, coming to the C919 with the CFM LEAP 1C engine with a thrust range between 27,000 to 28,000 pounds, you definitely have a limited range and also with a limited fuel capacity. So as you can see here, the range is given as 5,555 kilometers and with a fuel capacity of 24,917. But most similar point you can see between these two aircrafts is the wingspan. So wingspan is 35.8 meters respectively, and the final comparison which makes the difference here is the maximum takeoff weight. So the more you have fuel capacity, the more you can have the maximum takeoff weight with the 79,000 kilograms, which is a positive sign from the Airbus, and also with the maximum takeoff weight with the 78,900 kilograms for COMAC C919 respectively. In addition to this, if I can mention about the list price of the A320neo and C919. So the price for buying a single A320neo will be around $110 million, whereas the list price for COMAC C919 is near to $101 million, which is a very short margin, and it is also a very competitive and reasonable price in this context. In addition to the number of orders, COMAC C919 secured 730 planes, in which its launch customer, China Eastern Airlines, taking the orders of 105 C919s with 15 optional. As of now, China Eastern Airlines are operating 4 C919s and more are on the way. In addition to that, ICBC Financial Leasing, also known as Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, taking the orders of 100 C919s, and there are other Chinese airlines also prefer to buy its homegrown C919, which includes Air China taking 5 COMAC C919s, then China Southern with 5 planes, then Hainan and Hebei Airlines taking 20 C919s, and recently Tibet Airlines ordering 50 COMAC C919s during Singapore Airshow. Right. Now it's time for an amazing takeaway comparison analysis, whatever I have observed between COMAC C919 and Airbus A320neo. So my first reaction on COMAC C919, specifically with its length and also with its very good seating capacity, well, COMAC has taken a very good advantage in a mid-market segment, and most importantly, the avionics is far more fabulous, specifically with its large avionics display, which is by far the most user-friendly avionics displays I have never seen in the mid-market segment, if you can compare it with the Boeing 737 MAX. Right. So not only that, its cockpit windows also visually it looks very wide, and also it looks very airy as well for pilots, specifically handling any visual difficult situations or in any harsh weather conditions. So because of its big windows, because of its big cockpit windows, it looks very easy to visually watch, and you can fly high safely. And compared to the Airbus A320neo, the positives obviously a very good engine with a powerful thrust with 28,000 to 35,000 pounds, which is although it's a CFM LEAP 1A, and also with good thrust means good range, and also with a good fuel capacity. But the only thing that I'm a little bit not satisfied is with the seating capacity. But obviously its length is a bit less, and they're using its old airframe of Airbus A320, and I was also expected its avionics to be upgraded, but it still looks old. But technologically, Airbus has done a good job upgrading its fly-by-wire system. So that is a very good plus point for Airbus A320neo. To conclude this video, I would say it's a wake-up call for Airbus and Boeing as COMAC entered into the picture, and also that too for the first time with her international debut at Singapore Airshow, sending a message showing that we are ready to fight against Airbus and Boeing in a mid-market segment in the coming future. So it's a wake-up call for Airbus and Boeing to figure it out how to make sure to improve its brand values. So, well, if you speak about Boeing 737 Max at present, it's a very difficult situation to fix, specifically in the quality and safety. So that's why you must have seen in the news that there have been so much leadership structure changes have been there. And also, I also heard that Boeing is also planning to merge with Spirit Aerosystems, so they are under talks. So it's a potential challenging situation for Boeing 737 Max program. But for Airbus, they have to, keep a close watch on COMAC's next move, what would happen next in the coming future. So this is going to be a tough battle between COMAC C919 and Airbus A320Neo as of now. So, but for Boeing, well, definitely it will take a time until airlines trust builds for further and further. Right. So I do believe that Boeing's chance will come forward in the coming future, matching up with its rivals like Airbus and COMAC. So, well, I think for COMAC, it's a very good move to get this opportunity, bringing C919 into the Singapore Airshow in the wake of the 737 MAX incident. So, definitely some aviators, and including as an aviation enthusiast, I too felt the same presence why COMAC brought C919 into the Singapore Airshow, which is by far, it's a shocking and very surprising to all that, okay, they are ready to take challenge. So it's going to be a very interesting battle uh, to witness in the coming future. So I can't wait for that. And every aviator really loves the mid-market battle, specifically with Airbus, Boeing, when it comes to newcomers. So it's a good opportunity to, to understand the real market dynamics in the aviation industry. So it's a good approach indeed, especially for the newcomers who wish to face with big rivals. All right, guys. So this is my comparison analysis of COMAC C919 and Airbus A320Neo. So I hope you like this video. So please do like and subscribe to my channel. So if you have any views on COMAC C919 and Airbus A320Neo and what are your first reactions, you can ping it in the comment section below. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and until then, guys, fast flights and soft landing.